Okay, hello everybody. I think we'll get started. Welcome to OSA Con version 2022. This is the kickoff talk just to introduce the conference, give you a little bit of help on navigation, and talk a little bit about what we're going to be discussing today. Let's dive in and do some intros. So just a little bit about this. We'll cover this later on, but as we're in this talk, it's a Zoom webinar format. You're welcome to ask questions at any time. You can post them in the Q&A box. I can also see the chat, so we can jump in and answer them. I'll stick around after this talk is done as well. A little bit about me. I am Robert Hodges. I'm CEO of Altinity. I've been working on databases and things like virtualization and security since the early 80s. And I've been working on analytic databases since 2013. The first thing I got involved in was Hadoop, followed closely by Redshift. So it's a pleasure to be here. I love analytic databases. This is just a great subject. Lots of really interesting things going on, especially in open source. The company is Altinity. So we're an enterprise provider for ClickHouse, which is a popular open source data warehouse. Unfortunately, it's my favorite data warehouse, so favorite database right now. So some of my stuff is going to be focused on it. We offer Altinity.cloud platform, so it's hosted ClickHouse, and we offer enterprise support. And we do a lot of community contributions. This conference is part of that. Our goal here is just to create an event where everybody in the community who's working on open source, working on analytics software, or using analytics software can come together, learn from each other, and make more interesting applications and projects afterwards. So that gets us on to open source analytics con, or we call it OSA Con 2022. So what is it? Well, we try to bring two kinds of things together. First of all, talks about open source analytic projects. So there are literally hundreds of these, or even thousands out there, mostly on GitHub, of course. Everything from huge data warehouses like ClickHouse or Druid or Presto, all the way down to sort of tiny side projects that people have just done and opened up to their friends. We try to bring them all together, anything that's interesting, anything that's widely used. We also bring together talks on analytic applications, so people taking those projects and using them to do interesting things. As you look over the talks, you'll see lots of examples of that. So in total, we have 26 talks with 31 presenters. Every talk here is recorded, as is this one right now, and we'll share the slides and the video. By the way, if you're listening and you're a presenter and you haven't sent us our slides, this is a really good time to send them to conference@altinity.com so that we can load them up and your audience can have the slides ready when your talk runs. Otherwise, we'll just have to hound you afterwards. So you don't have to take frantic notes. You will get the recordings. This is all being done on Zoom, so the recording works automatically. We should have it posted within a day or two of the conference finishing. How to attend talks? Well, probably anybody here already knows. It's pretty easy to get in. So we're using Zoom events. There is a big list of sessions as your talk starts. First of all, find your talk in the sessions. There's all these cards with showing the people giving the talk as well as the title. You'll see a join button once the talk is started. You can just go ahead and press that join and come into the talk. And then when you're in the talk, use Q&A to ask questions. That's the best way. You can also use the chat. That's a little bit more informal, but people may, as they're giving talks, may miss them. Generally speaking, we're leaving questions up to the presenters. So some people like to take them at the end. Some people, like me, I sort of do them as the talk goes along. It's whatever they want to do. But we do have time for answering questions, and we welcome people to jump in and ask as many questions as they can. So if you have questions or problems, so no conference software is perfect, and we have done everything we can to test this, but you still may run into something you don't understand. You can message us in the lobby. That's this this messaging that's available over on the right-hand side of your screen as you enter the conference. Another thing you can do is you can email us at um, uh, conference at altinity.com, and you can message us on Slack. And it looks like I've got the wrong link for this, but if you go into the OSA Con page, you will see it. This invite actually should still work. This goes to the Altinity DB Slack workspace. You should be able to find us there. So multiple ways to get hold of us, and in case you do have a question. Um, so why did we start this? Well, this is the second year that we've done this conference, and it's basically because we like working in the open source community. We in our business, we focus on ClickHouse every day. We have a couple hundred customers. We talk to many more people in over the course of time in through events, interacting on things like Telegram and Slack and other media. And there's just some unbelievable applications that are built on open source that solve analytic problems. What kind of problems are they? Well, they're things like fraud detection or detecting malware, network management, diagnosing faults in services that are running in the cloud, monitoring sites, or doing recommendations for e-commerce engines. These are actually just a few of the applications that we see. And actually, I was trying to think of an example of what's the most creative one I've seen, and I really can't think of one. Uh, although I think the most interesting thing for me is always seeing how people can use analytics to give people a new view of something that they're working on in their business and to do it in real time. So real-time analytics is a particularly hot area. It's enabled by databases like ClickHouse or Druid or Pinot. And these are applications which absorb enormous amounts of data, often give people answers back on questions that they're asking in a second or less. In fact, you can often set things up so that you'll get back answers in milliseconds. And some of these applications are just amazing, particularly if you look at things like visualization and other techniques that people are using to share data with their users. So the whole point of this conference is to get people together and talk about this so that everybody can see what the rest of the community is doing and learn from it. So just some things to expect. We try to cover, it's obviously it depends on the talks that get submitted, but we do try and first of all cover analytic technology. So things like event loading and transformation. We have several talks that cover event streams in one way or another. We like to look at database architectures and trade-offs. We are ClickHouse fans, but we're not bigots. We love all databases, and we also think that it's important to understand the differences between them. An example will be digging into HTAP, so hybrid analytical hybrid transactional analytic processing. Uh, that's an interesting area and kind of one that has emerged, particularly in open source, over the past couple of years, and it's very interesting to look at. We'll also be looking at things like data lakes versus data warehouses. This has been traditionally somewhat separate, but there's actually some interesting convergence going on. I'd urge you to check out talks like Rachel Podreski's talk on data warehouses versus data lakes. There's also a nice one on Iceberg. Very interesting area if you haven't followed up on that part of the technology. We also look at data engineering. There's a cool talk on at least one cool talk on data engineering, application architecture, success stories. We have a number of talks about how people have used particular databases, for example, using ClickHouse as a store for Jaeger. Uh, so you'll be able to learn from those, see how people are using applications. And then finally, all of this is based on open source. Open source is what makes this possible. So we try to highlight interesting new projects. I think Ponder is a good one. That's data science and presentation. That talk is later this afternoon. Check that out. And very interested in the overall future of open source analytics. This is a really vibrant marketplace, both for new ideas as well as actual projects. Many vendors participating in the space, a lot of investment going on, and just people doing interesting things. We have, I think the highlight there is we have a panel discussion that includes the head of open source for Amazon, along with Max Boschman, the author of both Airflow as well as Superset, and Doug Cutting, who is the original author of Nutch and Hadoop, and Lucene, among others. So that should be really fun. And then finally, technology directions. What's going on? What are interesting new technologies that you should be looking out for? Uh, I'm doing a keynote where I'm picking on some things that I think are particularly interesting, but as you scan the talks, you'll find lots of other areas of interest. So I would like to thank the awesome community sponsors that have helped make this possible. We don't charge anybody anything for this. So the conference is free to attend. It's also free to be a sponsor. All we ask our sponsors to do is help us promote it. And they've done a great job, to the extent that we're actually afraid we're going to run out of tickets. So if your friends want to attend, tell them to sign up quickly before we run out. But there are 15 companies that are organizations that helped us uh, uh, promote this conference, and we're really grateful to all of you. Thank you so much, and also thank you so much for providing great talks. So check these folks out. They're all working in the community, all doing interesting things. I'd also like to thank our amazing and astounding marketing team. That's Jean-Jerome Schmidt-Soissons. Oops, sorry, Jean-Jerome, there's a typo in your name. It'll get fixed in the final slides. Sforty Bandara, who is going to be live tweeting. You'll see socials coming out of this during the day. And then Raihan and Christina, who've done this amazing legwork that allows us to come in here and all be together. So thank you all. I really appreciate the effort, and I think everybody attending will appreciate it as well. And then finally, I'd like to thank our speakers. As we mentioned, we have several dozen of them. There's an enormous amount of effort that goes into these talks. I appreciate it every time. I hope you will appreciate it, and check out the talks, participate in them, learn from them, and also consider doing your own talks in future years. And then finally, everybody attends. These conferences are nothing without the attendees. So thank you so much for attending. It's really wonderful to come together and to share this information. I hope that as you participate in this conference, you will also think about how conferences like this can be made better. We would love to, we're going to do this next year. Please think about kinds of things that you'd like to learn, and come back and help us make it even better as this grows over the years. So thank you, and it's great to have you here. And with that, I'd just like to say welcome again. Here are some links so you can contact Altinity at altinity.com, conference at altinity.com if you run into trouble, and then the Altinity DB Slack workspace is another way to message us. So we're available on all of those. And with that, let the games begin. Thank you very much. I'll stick around for a couple minutes in case there are any questions, but we've got talks starting right now. So I'd like to invite you to go check them out, and we'll see you over the course of this conference. Talk to you soon.